Listen, your business is a vehicle. This business is a vehicle that has insider information to where you guys can print a lot of cash. This one is from the Bible, I think it's Romans 28. But the other was from King Solomon. He said, this is the reminder that this too shall pass. Environment is greater than willpower. Environment drives our thinking. When we start to think something for a period of time, that forms beliefs. I just believe having a great coach in your life is going to dramatically improve. Everybody in this room is playing too small. That's the thing that I've seen over the 20 years is that real estate agents in particular play too small. You are not thinking big enough.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming. This will be the final mastermind for 2025. We did 6 of them this year, every other month. I've got all the dates for next year. In addition to the masterminds, we're going to probably do another couple events. Those of you that were able to attend the AI thing last week, I'm pretty sure you got a lot out of that. It was a great event. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different than we have in the past. We brought in our coach. This is John Kitchens. John's been coaching for 20 years. He's got over 10,000 hours of coaching, and there's a few people in this room I know that are coaching with John in addition to our team. John's a very pragmatic coach. He's not in your face. He's got a lot of answers to the way teams should be run and how agents should be running their business. So I don't even know what these two got in store for you today, but I'm sure it'll be good. So without further ado, Lori, you got a few things you want to say?
How are you guys doing this morning? Morning.
Morning.
Familiar faces. How you guys feeling?
Good.
The answer is outstanding.
Yeah.
Never get tired.
Outstanding. You never get tired. Cool. I'm excited to jam with you guys for a couple hours this morning and take you on a little journey. We're going to do a little bit of work as well. So we'll make it mastermind workshop style. Is that cool?
Yeah.
You guys cool to play all out today? I was kind of kicking things off with this because it's just always a great reminder, no matter what season we're in of our life, you're either in the middle of the storm, you just got out of the storm, or I can promise you another storm is coming. And so when we are faced with those challenges and we're faced with those storms, the only answer is through. I just love this image because the American bison is the only animal that for some reason instinctively turns and faces the storm and begins moving. So it's just a great reminder, anytime we're going through something that we have to face it head on. If not, it's just going to linger and you're going to have to deal with it later. And as you guys know, if you let things kind of linger, it becomes a full-on fire. Right? It could be just a blaze starting. So it's just a great reminder. Obviously, with everything, the rabbit holes and all the reels with Charlie Kirk over the last month, there was one that I caught that was really, really one of the ones I saved. He was asked what was his favorite quote, what was his favorite Bible passage, and he said, actually I have 2. He goes, one is from the Bible, I think it's Romans 28, but the other was from King Solomon. He said, this is the reminder that this too shall pass. And I've always heard it in a frame of, when you're in the storm, just a reminder that this too shall pass. But he also said the opposite is true. When you are in times of prosperity and things are going extremely well, to stay humble, this too shall pass. So I promise you, everybody in this room is at a different season. And there's a lot of you that are going through storms either in your business or in your life. Just a reminder, this too shall pass. Listen, if you guys have seen any of my presentations in the last 2 years, you've seen this slide. I put it in here for my amusement. It's the funniest thing ever. Just looking at him walking. I know a lot of you guys in here, but for those of you that don't, coach's kid from Lawton, Oklahoma. My dad was in the public school system for over 40 years. I grew up on the football field, in the locker rooms, on the hard court. Thank goodness my dad coached golf, so I grew up on the golf course as well. Just being in that environment, right? Environment is greater than willpower. Environment drives our thinking. When we start to think something for a period of time, that forms beliefs, right? And our beliefs drive how we feel drives our actions drive our results. So being stuck in environment, coaching and coaches started to form those belief systems. And for me, I just believe having a great coach in your life is going to dramatically improve in any area that you guys are committed to being better. Really looking at that, and I think the big takeaway that I want you guys to think about today as we kind of go through this process is that whatever you want to achieve, the question you have to ask yourself is, who do I have to become in order for that to be true? What got you here won't get you there. The habits that you have, if you want to take your life to the next level, are not going to serve you to take you to that next level. So just kind of be thinking about, kind of from a selfish standpoint, where do you need to make the jump? Where do you need to make the shift? Where do you need to make the improvement? Take your life to that next level. When you have certain beliefs for a long period of time, that starts to form why you do what you do. For me, it's inspiring and challenging people to think bigger so that they can have the transformation in their life, therefore the transformation in their business. What I can promise you is everybody in this room is playing too small. That's the thing that I've seen over the 20 years is that real estate agents in particular play too small. You are not thinking big enough. And so we'll go through some of this and some of the exercises that we're going to have this morning. I want you guys to be thinking about how can you play bigger? How can you stop playing small? Background, I'm supposed to go to college on a golf scholarship, ended up on the drinking team instead of the golf team. So that didn't work out too well. Went to California. My aunt was out there and she said, listen, what are you doing, dude? You got long hair and you ride a Harley. Like, what's on the golf course playing golf? So she made me come to California, and that's where my schooling was. She lived on a semi-private 36-hole golf resort in Hollister, California. And it was at just the pinnacle of golf, right? That was the time Tiger was coming on the scene, and especially kind of the epicenter there in Central California. She put me through the ringer, made me spend time in the kitchen, made me spend time with the GM, made me spend time in lodging, also letting me fail in the golf shop. Right? So I learned so many lessons with marketing, how to deal with the public, how to deal with members. So it was a fantastic, 4-year run, which was my schooling. Went back to some high school buddies of mine, serial entrepreneurs. We took 4 concepts, ideas, and businesses, and we ended up flipping them all. So that was a pretty cool experience as well, being able to take a business and actually sell. We were without a job in 2003. Best man at my wedding said it would be a good idea for us to own a bar. And I don't know how many of you guys have owned a bar or thinking of owning a bar. Worst decision of your entire life, I promise you. That was 2004. My son turned 2 that year. My daughter was born. 128 straight days from January 1. 128 straight days of working in the bar. You start walking in, drop the kids off at daycare. Shit, it's 7:30. Might as well start drinking. That really was the indicator it's time to make a move. During that time, Michael, when I moved to California, Reese moved to down in Frisco, Texas. He got connected with Kinder, if you guys have ever heard that story. He knew I was about to make a jump. He connected me with Jay. What's the crazy thing is that Jay and I are from Lawton, Oklahoma. The entire county is 100,000 people. And I had never met this dude. Interesting fact, his girlfriend at the time was working for us. And I still never met him, but I knew him. That was my first understanding of how powerful branding and marketing is. I had never met this cat, but I knew him. Because you couldn't turn on the radio, you couldn't drive down the street without seeing a billboard, a sign. Oh shit, there's a wrapped Hummer over there. You've never seen one of those before. He had done such a wonderful job of branding himself that I knew who he was without ever meeting him. We got connected in October of 04. Over the past 21 years, I've been a part of 3 separate 7-figure real estate businesses, 4,300 transactions under my watch. As Mike alluded, I got into the one-on-one coaching side of things in February of 2012, however long of a run that is. A little north of 17,000 one-on-one calls, and then this past June hit 10,000 hours of just one-on-one coaching, not one-to-many, just one-to-one. So I say that because I just have a unique perspective of running brokerages in polar opposite markets, Lawton, Oklahoma, and Dallas, Texas, as well as coaching, people now, thanks to EXP, all over the world. So it's been fun and a unique perspective. I very rarely get stumped with a situation of damn, I don't know. I've never encountered that. Just let your imagination run wild. Yep, I probably have helped navigate either myself or others through that situation. Opportunity to work with a lot of great people. But I want to run you guys pretty quickly through this because what I want you to take away is 2 things. One is being absolutely brutally honest with your current situation. All progress begins with telling the truth. So current reality, current situation, do not stick your head in the sand. There's going to be things that you might not know. That's going to be an indicator. That's what you need to pay attention to. And then we're going to zoom out to this big future. Once we know where we want to go, what's the destination, we know where we're at, then we can put the plan in place to get there. Does that make sense? Then what we're going to talk about is what does 2026 have to look like for you guys to be on the path to where you want to be in the next 3, 5, 10 years. We have to be moving in a known direction. And then what we'll break, mastermind, will share about what that looks like, what your takeaways were. We'll go into what do you believe the biggest constraint is that's going to stop you from achieving your goals in 2026. Because when you walk out of this room, you know where you're going, you know where you're at, and you know what possible obstacle is in the way, and then you know what you got to do to overcome that. That's my goal for you guys, intent for you guys to walk out of here with certainty. This is one of the biggest things. I had a conversation earlier this week. I don't know if Laura and I were talking about it. What I feel right now in the industry, it is a tremendous lack of certainty. Without clarity is what typically causes procrastination. And I am seeing people with their heels dug in, not moving because they don't know what to do. That clarity is not there. So my intent for you guys with Laura and Mike and everybody for you guys to be able to walk out of here with certainty of where you're going and know what you got to do to overcome the hurdles in your way. Does that sound good? Sweet. Like I said, 21 years with Kinder. I asked myself as a coach, how would I go coach these two 27-year-old knuckleheads? And the one thing that has just kind of really stood out where we missed the mark was we were so fixated chasing status. We wanted to be number one so bad that we sacrificed and burned everything down on that path. Our health was horrible. Our relationships were horrible. But dang, we were at the office 100 hours a week trying to figure out how we could be number one in our market. The year that we did 530 transactions was 20% market share, but we got smoked by a top 10 RE/MAX team. They smoked us. We did 530, they did about 680. So between our two teams, we did over 50% of the market share of that business. Number 2 in the world for Caldwell Banker, but at what cost? Him and I ended up splitting ways a year later, and it was really the learning of growing of leadership, self-leadership, that allowed us to come back together. And where we missed the mark was we were so busy chasing status that we never put an eye on freedom. And all of the developments, all of the new construction, all of the rehabs, we took every penny and either fueled our status or burned it right back into the business. Now listen, I get it. Get into a safe community, get your kids into the best school, drive a reliable car, right? But at some point, you've got to look beyond the next level, which is, how am I utilizing this business to fund my freedom? So what does freedom look like? Freedom in my mind is 2 things. 1, am I moving closer to my perfect day? And if you guys want to kind of go down that rabbit hole, you can just jump on YouTube, type in Frank Kern Perfect Day. It's going to be about a 7.5-minute video of old school surfer pothead Frank Kern, who's highly entertaining. But he breaks down Perfect Day, which is essentially pulling your core identity out. And when you kind of go through it, it's essentially having to live Groundhog Day, which is just say a typical Tuesday. Within that, right, the whole exercise is like, who are you waking up next to? What are the senses? What do you smell? Hardwood tile, carpet on your feet. When you hit the floor, you look out the window. Are you in the mountains? Are you at the beach? Where are you at? And then you go throughout the day. If everybody's truthful that goes through this exercise, everybody works. Typically working 2 to 4 hours. And who are you having lunch with? What are you guys talking about? And then you'll start to catch yourself. And you'll be like, I would never eat that on my perfect day. I would never have that conversation on my perfect day. I would never work with that person on my perfect day. Then it's like, then why in the heck are you doing it now? Like, why? If you don't make that choice, then it's never going to change. So going through that exercise, what it does, and listen, it's knowledge and power. Knowledge is just awareness. Power is choice. So my kind of underlying objective for you guys today is to create some new awareness of where you're at. Because once you have the awareness, now you have a choice. Now it's on you. You're going to do something about it, or you're just going to keep kind of floating along. Okay? So that's one part of freedom. The second part is, how much money do you need to have coming in to where you're not trading time for dollars? How many of you in here, if you don't dance, you don't get paid? We're dancing bears. You stop dancing, you stop getting paid. But you want to be able to have that money, so if you choose to stop dancing, the money keeps coming. So listen, you're never going to build a real estate business that you can sell. If you do sell, it ain't going to be worth much. Because I can tell you exactly what we sold a lot in Oklahoma. I can tell you, Jake and your home selling team, what we sold it for. You would laugh. Which was everything that they built Kinder Reese Coaching and NAE on was what we did in Lawton, Oklahoma. You would think that would be worth something. Literally, you guys would laugh if I told you how much we sold it for. And we never got full payment. So what you can build is a machine that prints cash for you to then be able to invest in assets that's going to create revenue streams to where you can move to freedom. Listen, your business is a vehicle. That's all it is. This business is a vehicle that has insider information to where you guys can print a lot of cash if you build it right. Like, there is nothing better. Find me something better that can print as much cash in a short period of time in the real estate business. And also unlock hidden opportunities that the market doesn't even know about. Come on, guys, they put Martha Stewart in jail for less than what you guys have access to. You think about that. So how are you using your vehicle to fund your freedom? That's how you have to be thinking. And please don't think that you're going to build a real estate business that's worth something. Use it to your advantage to get real clear on what freedom looks like for you. And if you go through the exercise, it's Tony Robbins' financial freedom exercise. And he's going to walk you through 6 steps, and it's going to basically say, for you to live the life of your dreams, how much money do you need to have coming in? And if you're honest, it's a lot less money than what you think. It is a lot less money than what you think. And there's so many different ways to be able to get there. Listen, like, I don't know any of you in here that's trying to build EXP. That's Mount Everest. There's only one way to Mount Everest. But the mountains that you guys are trying to conquer, there's a lot of paths to get up there. That's the beautiful thing with real estate is you guys get to design this however you want it to be. It can be you. It could be you and a small leverage team. It could be a mid-sized team. It could be a massive Inc. team. Whatever you want it to be, it can be. But you have to make sure that whatever you design is aligned to your goals. The goal changes, the business model changes. If you walk out of here today and your goals are bigger, which I hope they are, then your business model is going to have to change. Your people are going to have to change. You change the goal, everything else changes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. Am I hitting you guys a little early with this? Listen. I get the deer in the headlight books all the time because I know it's resonating. I know it's landing on you guys. You guys are thinking, and that's good. Okay. So why does this matter? Freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom to think, freedom to live, freedom to lead, freedom to live. Okay. So there's 3 levels to your mindset, and we talked on status and freedom, but the first is survival. And where you can get into the trap is thinking in survival. It feels like you're building something and you're being busy, but you're not being productive. Listen, it's real simple. The difference in productivity and busyness is getting results. If you're getting results, you're being productive. If you're doing a bunch of stuff and you're not getting results, you're just busy. That's going to keep you in the trap. That's going to keep surviving. Once you can, you get out of there. And listen, the market's not going to kill you. It's staying reactive. You have to be proactive in everything you do. And the reason you can't be proactive is because you don't know what the heck where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish. How many of you on the real estate side of things know exactly how many conversations you need to have to be able to get a closed transaction? How many of you know that? One of the biggest, not knowing the math will keep you in the trap. Not knowing your math. And then it's like, do you know how many hours it takes to have those conversations? Because it's just time allocation. That's all it is. There's a system and a process to anything. The right code, right combination can unlock your future. But you got to know what the combination is. You got to know the numbers to be able to get there. So how do you get to the next level? This is the shift. So this is where you get off the transaction treadmill, get out of survival mode, and you're moving from status to freedom. Listen, hang out in status, but just don't live there. Like I said, you want to provide for your family. You want to be in a great, safe community. You want to be in the right school district for your kiddos. I get that. But don't Don't live there. Don't live there. And it's all about getting A to B. So A is current reality where we're at. Remember, all progress begins with telling the truth. B is the destination where we're going. Okay, there's a lot of stops along the way, but we want to make sure we're moving. You know, it was first time we went to see Jay Abraham had to be 2006. First time we went out there, and he had a gentleman in the room. Gordon Bazar was his name. I shit you not, that was his name. Gordon Bazar. And he gave one of the best illustrations about goals. And he said, imagine you're flying your airplane and you're traveling across the desert on your way to Cairo. Your plane generates, malfunction, and you crash land. What do? Gather up the resources, you hunker down. Man, somebody's going to come save me. Man, I'm here, somebody's going to come get me. But in reality, nobody's coming to save you. And if you stay put, all of your resources are going to run out and you're going to die. So the right thing to do when you hit that storm and you crash is to gather all the things you need, grab your map, and get moving. That's the only way you have to survive. If you guys stay put and you think somebody's going to come save you, you will not make it. Harsh reality is nobody's coming to save you. And the quicker you can accept that and learn that, I wish I would have learned that earlier in my life, the quicker you can move. So it's about getting from A to B. So evaluating current reality, who do you have to become to achieve your goals? And so it's all about getting the right type of perspective. Okay? So I'll be able to give you guys hopefully some good perspective today. So 3 types of people. So you need to ask yourself, especially in this business, are you interested? Are you committed? Or are you one of the few that's obsessed? I don't believe there's any room in real estate right now for people that look at this as a hobby. At all. If you are just interested, you are not going to make it. Listen, I've coached a lot of people out of this business because it doesn't align to who they are. It doesn't align to their passion. It doesn't align to their level of commitment. And listen, I don't believe you commit and figure it out. I believe you figure out what you want, reverse engineer, and ask yourself, is that something I can commit to? But then there's the few of you that are obsessed. And you drive everybody batshit crazy around you because you can't stop talking about the thing. Now, listen, I'm not asking everybody in here to be obsessed, but you better dang sure be committed. Mm-hmm. If you're interested, go find something you can commit to. Go find something you can commit to. Okay? And if you team lead, you have people on your team, you need to put them through this gauntlet. Are you committed? Or are you just being compliant? Compliance is not commitment. Help them find their passion, something that they can commit to. You, as a team leader, that is your responsibility. So the path that we want to take you guys down to real freedom. So I'm gonna jam through this and just kind of get a gauge where you guys are at. And like I said, I just create some awareness, and then we'll move into the next conversation and a little bit of a workshop for you guys. So think about what phase you're in. There's 3 phases within the 8 stages that we've identified in real estate. So the first phase is the traction phase. This is 0 to 6 figures. How many of you are in this phase? Not quite over the 6-figure range. It's okay. So this is the traction phase. Listen, this is the skill set that you have to learn how to sell. You have to develop those skills. You have to have basic disciplines, not asking you to be David Goggins, but you have to have some discipline. And this is where you start to figure out what works. My recommendation, if you're in this phase, you need to be on the team. Point blank. Do not try to muscle through this phase on your own. Get on a great team that has great values, great leadership, great systems, great structure, great support, great connections, great opportunities. Because you're going to spin your wheels trying to juggle 17 plates when you can focus on 2. Less than more. The habits, your enemies, are bad habits. Listen, if you ain't making over 6 figures, you got shitty habits. Period. If you have good habits, you're well over 6 figures. So if you're not over 6 figures, ask yourself, what habits do I need to let go of so that I can make that jump? And the fastest, easiest way is to get on a great team that you align with in your values. Okay? Lack of structure, working without a plan. If you're on a great team, they're going to give you a plan. They're going to help you devise that plan. So within the 8 stages, that falls in stage 1, which is the solopreneur stage. And the X factor is the environment you're in daily. Environment is greater than willpower. Right? My favorite quote, right? If you look at the people in your circle, they don't inspire you, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. I promise you, most of you that aren't where you're at is because the people that are in your circle. You outgrow people. They go other directions. That's what it is. And most of the time, they just choose not to come along. You don't leave people, they just choose not to come along. Environment is everything. Find a great team. Second is the seeker. This is strong people skills. I had Kyle Whistle on the podcast 4th of July. We get through the conversation, and he laughs at the end. He goes, the 2 jokers that I used to laugh at the most and clown the most are the ones that you probably need to pay attention to the most. He said, Ferry and Buffini. So if you learn what to say and learn how to build relationships, you're going to be unstoppable in this game. And so it was just funny hearing that from him. But strong people skills will get you out of the second, which is essentially being able to do at least 2 deals a month, right? Environment will get you to 1 deal a month. Strong people skills, how to build relationships, how to talk to people, will get you to 2 deals a month. Into the next phase. How many of you guys are in the 6 to 7 figure range? Top line revenue, by the way. This is top line revenue. This is before splits to your broker. This is before anything else. So this is momentum. Consistency. You lock in routines. You learn how to attract business, not chase it. I knew Jay. I never met him. He had built an attraction business. Your enemies here are shiny objects, no clear direction. You guys don't have an excuse for that after today. You will have a direction. Being busy versus being productive. We talked a lot about that already. It's a momentum phase. Sales and marketing will get you through this phase. Obsessed with sales and marketing. And if we want to pick one over the other, it's marketing. Listen, guys, I ain't going to talk to you about being a real estate agent because it don't matter. All you need to know with being a real estate agent is enough to where you're not going to get in trouble. Your broker's not going to be calling. Yeah. To grow, you got to play in the gray. But you got to know enough to not get yourself in trouble. Because the best real estate agent, you know what place the best real estate agent comes in? The best real estate agent comes in last. Do you know who comes in first? Best marketer. You know who comes in second? The best marketer. You know who comes in third? The best marketer. Then the best sales. Then the best negotiator. Then the best leader. And then pulling up the tail end is the best real estate agent. If you guys want to thrive and succeed, if you're going to be obsessed with anything, be obsessed with marketing. Be obsessed with direct response marketing. Be obsessed at being attractive. What are you building that people are, like you're the lighthouse that people want to gravitate to? Stage 3, this is the grower stage. Focus on getting listings. If you're like not waking up and going to bed thinking about listings, start shifting that way. Now you get to a point now, like Mike's thinking about recruiting agents, bringing agents into the Inc. team. Like that's his obsession, but it's the same thing as listings. And I would tell you right now, I would play with 1 foot in the motivated seller bucket and 1 foot in the desperate seller bucket. What is your offer to the motivated and desperate sellers in your marketing? It's going to be a cash offer. It's going to be a guaranteed sell. That's the message you want to have to the market, but you need to be obsessed with getting listings if you're in production. If you are in production, because what we're talking about is return on time. There is nothing greater in this business that's going to give you a greater return on time of 2 things, listings and recruiting agents. That's it. Because when you understand customer acquisition cost, you understand lifetime value, the return on your time, there is nothing greater. Motivated, desperate sellers, not aspirational sellers, not in this market. Don't waste your time on aspirational sellers. Motivated, desperate sellers, and hungry agents that are of high character, high trust. When it comes down to people, there's 2 non-negotiables. That's high character, high trust. Next phase is hustler. So this is low leverage activities off your plate. Focus on high leverage activities. That's why in the first part, get on a team so you can focus on high leverage activities and the team is going to support you in a low leverage. Does that make sense? Yes or yes?
Yep.
Next is entrepreneur. So this is brand presence, right? Focusing on really building your brand. And listen, your brand is just your reputation. That's it. Let's say Mike Sr., what do you guys think? We say Junior, what do you think? Say Renee, what do you think? Right? That's all your brand is your reputation. Like I knew Affinity brand just from the reputation of how they over-deliver and support just through conversations with Mike. That's their brand. That's their reputation. The next phase, the jump, 7-figure plus. This is real simple. Sales and marketing will get you to your first million. What got you to your first million will get you to your second. Leadership and people will get you to beyond. So if you have aspirations for making multiple 7-figure jump, people in leadership is what will get you to that next level. Hire talent. That's a non-negotiable. Talent. Define talent. Define A players. Build your foundational systems and protect your time. Your enemies are complacency and contentment. I'm of the school of you're either growing or you're dying. Complacency and coasting is not growth. And false confidence that you've made it. So we get into the higher developing, the higher stages, development, departmental leaders creating leaders, hiring talent, the right business model, right? You want to make that next jump, multiple 7 figures. You're probably in the wrong business model. I was telling Senior earlier, got a lady that's in this phase right here. In her current business model structure, she's at a brokerage, small cap, small referral fee. But she doesn't take into consideration that she has to charge a pretty significant transaction fee to her clients that she never gets to see. With her amount of production, that's a significant 6-figure revenue stream that she's giving to her broker because she thinks she's on this small split down here. Do the math, right? Business is just math. But sometimes we haven't had the right mentors or the right guidance to teach us how to do the math correctly. Business model is getting the math right. So evaluate that at all times. And then the final stage is icon stage. This is just the opportunity to keep creating opportunities for others. You're in that position, you're in freedom, then it's just about creating opportunities for other people. My favorite, like J. Cole lyric, is like, what good is sitting in first class if you can't take your buddies with you? So always be building something, obviously to get yourself to freedom, but who else can you bring along with you? Okay, that's what that status is about. So don't get to freedom by working harder. Listen, hard work is not enough. You got to think differently, you got to lead differently, and you got to execute without excuse. 0 excuses. Better business, listen, the size of your business is in direct proportion to the size of your leadership capabilities. You have to become the best version of you. Little McConaughey, right? You got to be selfish before you can be selfless. It's the oxygen mask concept. If you guys aren't the best version of yourselves, then you're no good to the people that are looking to you for leadership and guidance. When we come down to the real root of it, the priority is you. Who do you have to become in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve? So what we just walked through was the 8 stages. You guys can easily grab a copy. Just hit the QR code or just go to the 8stages.com later and you'll get that. But 8 stages. So, Laura, I want to pause right there. Was that helpful, walking through?
Yeah.
Are we clear? Are you guys kind of like, oh, man, this is where I'm at? The beautiful thing with the 8 stages, you can see what the next step is ahead of you. So you know who do you have to become to move to that. And honestly, the way to really think about it is to think about the habits of a couple stages ahead of you. Those are the habits that you need to develop. So if you're in stage 3, I would start looking at stage 4, 5 habits that you have to get to who you need to become. Those are the adjustments you want to make, right? To be able to make that jump to the next level. So, all right. Laura, thoughts, questions, anything else we want to add to the kind of current reality before we kind of shift to bigger future?
No, I think this was, yeah, I was going to ask, like, what are you guys thinking so far?
Dead silence. Nobody's on their phones. Nobody's emailing. Everybody's into it. So. Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, to break through the different stages. You know, I know it's going to get more difficult to get to the top one. You know, going from stage, let's just say 2 to 3, right? What has been your experience with the biggest challenge once you get to that space and breaking through?
For me, it's always been letting go of things sooner and hanging on to them. I remember, so I came in more on the operational side of things. So I was what do they even call them? It's in Traction. What is it? Gino Wickman's book, Traction. You have the integrator.
Mm-hmm.
I was an integrator before integrator was even a thing, right? So if you ask Jay, what's your next step? He said, you need to get a JK. That's what he'll always tell you. Who's your JK? Who's your JK? And so I was stabilizing the ship. When I got over to Kinder, he was like a go fast boat motor on the back of a rowboat. You can just imagine what that was. And it was every bit of that. And then some. In all areas of life. So stabilizing the ship, having that integrator, that right-hand person that can stabilize it, but letting go. I remember on a Sunday, I was sitting in there, and we were in there, and I was writing checks on a Sunday. And my wife at the time looked at me, and she goes, literally looked at me, and she goes, you're a fucking idiot. Tell me more. She goes, this is a Sunday afternoon, and you're sitting here writing checks. What are you doing? I hired Darlene the next week, and she's still with the guys to this day. She's been there that was in 2010. She's been there for 15, 16 years. She's still there. It was a hire. That was my last hire in that business that I made. And it was getting all of the accounting, bookkeeping, financial, because I believe nobody can do it better than me. So I was holding on to it. So you got to let go to grow.
That's the most common thing in our business, I think.
Would you say most agents don't want to slow down and speed up?
That's a great. They don't.
And that's what I've seen owning our team with my parents and getting agents to do more and more production. We have agents that this year alone will do 4 times, 5 times what they did last year. And some of them at the end of the year, going into the year, slowed down to speed up and analyze everything and really get things in place. So when you're coaching all these different agents, how many of them who are in production, the money's coming in, just don't want to take the time to look at what can take them from level 2 to level 2?
They don't. They get so busy and they're so reactive because the business is coming at you. And not stepping back and going, okay, what is the most profitable lead source I have? Where am I missing the mark on my average sales price to where if I said no to this part of the market and stay focused over here, I would free myself up to have more opportunity to go from this average sales price to maybe 2 to 3 times that average sales price. My belief in real estate and the market into the future, the percentage of the market that's going to get less disrupted with AI, because, and I don't know if Nick hit on it last week, the real threat is not the agent with AI. The real threat is the AI-driven consumer. Do you guys know that this year was the first time in maybe 30 years that the buyer and seller complaint was no longer communication? Do you know what the new buyer and seller complaint is?
He said that they know more than we do.
They know more than you do. And I believe that to be 97% true. You guys are in that 3% category, right? Or you wouldn't be in here. So that's what you have to fear. So when you're thinking about where the opportunity in this market is, it's real small. Our value proposition is real small. It's getting smaller and smaller. But the market that's going to be less disrupted is going to be the luxury market, the higher end market. Because you're dealing with more affluent, you're dealing with business owners, you're dealing with executives, and what do they value? They don't get to those roles without people. They don't get to those roles without letting people do what they're specialized to do. They're going to see more value in you if you are a true professional, a true educator, true expert, true advisor. They're going to value you even more. So I'm not trying to lead the witness, but I'm pushing you into a certain segment of the market. I would want to make sure you're gravitating more to the affluent, higher price point, than try to play in affordable housing. Because that market's going away. Nick?
I was just thinking, I'm 20 years into this industry until I met you guys and some other people. I was working in my business for 18 of those 20 years. And the last 2 years, I got a little bit more clarity in working on my business. And what is my business? My business still sells real estate, but I don't work with buyers. I just list it. There's certain things I just told Jeff. People think I sell a lot of houses. Year to date, I've sold 8. That's not, as my wife reminds me, that's not even one a month. I'm not overworked. But yeah, right? But I get, my quality of life, spending time with my kids, one's in Maine, one's in Texas, one's a 17-year-old going to college next year. I mean, like playing more golf, getting hip surgery, like that kind of clarity and thinking like this. But my first 18 years of my career, how many houses can I sell? How many clients can I work with? None of that shit's important. I hate to say that. No one's putting that stuff on my tombstone when we all die. But anyway, that kind of clarity and just working on your business, not in your, too on or in, it's two little words, but it makes a lot of difference.
There's General Marquette, who wrote probably one of the best leadership books called Turn the Ship Around. He turned around the worst submarine in the entire naval fleet and became the #1 submarine in the entire fleet. He turned the ship around. And just his leadership style. He wrote his newest book is it's like Disengage, I think is the title of it. And I was listening to it on the drive in this morning, and he's talking about to where you get so inside the forest that you can't see the forest amongst the trees, right? Because you're so in it. Jocko talks about it, in extreme ownership by being, engaged. And you don't know what move to make because you're so locked in that sometimes you just got to step back, got to disengage to be able to know the next move. To Junior's point, slow down so you can go fast, right? And that means you have to disengage and step back and breathe. And sometimes when you're running 100 miles an hour, sometimes you just got to sit down and take a breather for a second. And for some, that could be, 3 days. It could be a long weekend. Some might need a week, might need 10 days. But at some point, when you redline for so long, so one of our mentors told us this about leading our teams. He's like, listen, you can redline your team for a quarter. You can even redline them for 2 quarters. But if you redline them for 2 quarters, you're going to start having cracks in the engine. You're going to break your people. They can't operate and run for more than 2 quarters. So if you try to redline for a 3rd quarter, it's not going to work. So you're going to have to throttle off to reignite, to rebuild them back up to where then you can redline again. So that's always been a good reminder to redline. I can redline, but then I got to throttle off. Then I can redline again.
So I think sometimes it's that you finally realize you have to shift your focus, okay? Because you can, as you're growing, and then you're responsible for helping other people grow, you just have to And it's funny when it comes about.
Yeah.
But that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not really selling that much more. You know. So
The game changes, right?
Yeah.
It's the same board, just the pieces change. You're moving from checkers
it
to
gets
chess.
shuffled around.
Yeah. Renee.
So the room got really quiet for a moment. Everybody's kind of looking at each other, and I think it started with you saying, like, you have to be really truthful with yourself, and then you laid out, where everybody is, and everybody had to get real with where they actually are, right? And I think that a lot of times people struggle with, sometimes you just got to strip it all down. You got to knock it all down and start over. So my question for you is, how many times have you knocked it all down and started over?
Yeah.
And how much better was that once you did that?
It's so funny you said that, because that was something else I was listening to this morning. And it's a mental exercise you go through. Write this down. We're not going to do it here, but I want you guys to think about this over the weekend. If you had to start from scratch, knowing what you know, how would you build it differently? Because the reality is that when you try to add on and remodel along the way, you end up with a remodel instead of going in and tearing it down and rebuilding from scratch. Here's the struggle, why people struggle with this, is because you have the names of the individuals that are currently with you, and something in us as humans, unless you're, sociopaths, like whatever category you want to put them in, you have to be able to just think of functions, not people. And so if you had to tear it down and build it all over again, you have to give yourself permission to not think about everybody that's currently with you. That's why most people don't think about it that way and struggle with it, is because that means you take everything and you set it over here, and you start here, and then you go, can this person do this job? You have to rehire them to the new roles. Remember, the goal changes, the model changes, the strategy changes, the people change. If you shift your focus like, man, I'm really going to commit to agent attraction. I've never done it before, but I'm going to still produce and attract agents. That's a new plan. That's a new goal. That's a new business. That's a new business model. That's a new strategy. That's new people. So the exercise is wipe the slate clean, build it, and then rehire back to it. Okay? You change one goal, you change one piece, everything changes. And that's really hard for us because we want to try to make room for everybody that's currently with us. And that's because you don't have a good hiring system. It all comes down to systems. You're just one system away. One system. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. It's giving everyone permission to knock it all down.
Knock it all down. Knock the sandcastle down and rebuild it. Okay, so let's zoom out to the future. So kind of when you're talking about the future, working with agents, kind of your goals beyond the next 12 months, kind of what are some of the thought exercises, things that you want them to think about?
We just do a lot of future pacing. Where do you see yourself? What do you see your perfect day? All the things that you were kind of talking about. We use a freedom by design so that you can actually go through and see, where do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? What is my freedom number? And then backtrack it to what we need to do today to get there.
Yeah. So a couple of the kind of charting the course is what Laura's kind of referring to. So it's essentially, now that you guys know A, B out into the future, beyond a simple financial goal, what is the vision that you have for your business? What is the vision that you have for, and listen, if you're an agent, you're on a team, you have a business. It's your business within their business. It's just like Mike has his business within the EXP business. And it's the same thing, right? You got to think about it the same way. It's your own business. So what is the vision for that? One thing that I want you to think before we break out, you have to think beyond 26. And we can have some fun. You can use end of the decade. So that's 4 years. If you go 5 years, that's December 31st, 2030. Now, let me ask you, how many of you plan on being done with this career in the next 5 years? How many of you plan on being done with this career in the next 10 years?
Why are you looking at me, Sue?
I'm old. How many of you plan on riding for more than a decade? So what I would challenge you guys to think about, because vision is 3 things. What are your core values? Not aspirational, but what are your core values? The non-negotiables. Okay? Things that you will punch somebody in the mouth over if they violate. That's the filter, right? Like, you might not actually punch them in the face, but you want to. So like, mine's a time thing, right? Like, think through any time that like something happens with another human being and your skin starts to boil. You need to create awareness and be like, what's causing that? Because what's causing that is a core value misalignment. So that's a good indication, right? And knowing those non-negotiables. So listen, here's my core values, your purpose, and your big, hairy, audacious goal, your vision is so important, is because it creates decision-making filters. The reason you guys aren't accelerating and going as fast as you want to go is because it takes you too long to make a decision. Your decisions per year, your decisions per quarter, your decisions per month, your decisions per week, your decisions per day, your decisions per hour are off. And the reason you don't make faster decisions is because you don't have a framework to bounce them up against. Your first one is your core values. Those are your non-negotiables, right? Your second is why you have your business beyond more than just making money. And the exercise could be the 7 whys deep, right? Why do we have this business? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? That'll get you down to the root. About 5, 6, or 7 levels deep will get you to the real purpose of your business. Mine is from Simon Sinek, Start With Why. How many of you guys have listened to or know the Start With Why concept from Simon Sinek? Well, he has a book called Find Your Why. And the framework's real simple. What are you the best in the world at so that you can do that gives you the most fulfillment? What are you the best in the world at? And if you can spend 80, 90% of your time doing that thing, is going to give you what fulfills you the most. So if you don't know, figure out what those 2 things are. What fulfills you the most, but what are you the best in the world at? And there's a difference between unique and exceptional. And the only difference is one gives you energy, one doesn't. So I remember we were at KT. Renee, you might have, I don't know if you were there. Were you there when Mayhem was in there? We were at AKC. And we were going through this exercise, unique ability exercise. And he's like, man, I am really good at listing appointments. Like really, really good. He goes, I'm also really good at agent conversations. He goes, but you know, I get no fulfillment, no energy on listing appointments. But I get so much energy from talking and recruiting agents. So there you go. There's your answer. So we built his entire business model around recruiting agents. He's got one of the largest independent, more of a discount shop brokerage in Oklahoma City, just because he got real clear on what gives him energy and he built the business around what gave him energy. Does that make sense? Find that unique ability, core purpose, and then that big, hairy, audacious goal. So the exercise that Laura and I want you guys to go through, we're going to workshop and mastermind on this is, if you raised your hand, you want to be in the game more than 10 years, build that big, hairy, audacious goal 10 years from now. If you want to, escape in the next 5, build it for 5. If you're kind of in the 3 to 5 range, you can have some fun with it. End of the decade. It's just fun to say. I want to be at X, Y, and Z by the end of the decade. Hey, we're going to be at X, Y, and Z by the end of the decade. We're going to be at X, Y, and Z by the end of the decade. The exercise that we want to take you through, Lord, if you want to kind of expand on it, is what must happen, God bless you, what must happen in 2026 for you to be way down the path of where you want to be in whatever that mile marker is. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. But 2026 has to be putting you on the path of getting you closer to where you want to be. And when you do that, right, I'm going to finish that thought with the vision. Core values, purpose, and BHAG. What that is, those are decision-making filters. Because when you get hit, and I go, Sue, what do you think about this? And you go, does it align to my values? Does it align to my purpose? Does it move me closer to my BHAG? Yes, cool, I'm open to it. Let's talk about it. And you're like, no, it's going to move me further away. It doesn't align to my values. No, thank you. That's a hard no. Thank you. That's how you make fast decisions. Because you have that guiding light that's going to either align and move you closer or not. It's the old Tim Ferriss. It's either a hell yes or it's no. It's not kind of in a yes. It's yes. Because it aligns to my values. It fills me to my purpose, and it's moving me closer to the top of the mountain that I'm in pursuit of. Does that make sense? So how do we want to workshop with them on this?
Well, I was thinking, why don't we give them a minute to think about that?
Okay.
What their end goal is, what we're going to focus on, and then reverse engineering what has to go away next year versus what do we have to do. Let's look at what we don't have to do.
That is
Then
a
we can bring them
really
and talk
good
about
point.
it.